Like, what is happening? Unless these guys are like undercover Maoists and they just want to dismantle the American empire piece by piece, it doesn't make any sense why they're doing this. I truly don't get it. What the hell is going on? Doing tricks on it. At this rate of achievement, not only should President Donald Trump be on Mount Rushmore, I want to personally work on the chisel. Jesus Christ, dude. Elon Musk, I have no problem with your lifestyle, but please keep it to yourself. They're living in an entirely separate universe, and I fear that like everyone is living in an entirely separate universe nowadays, and I don't know how to fix that. Like, there is no great unification that I foresee happening where people just get back on the same track as far as the truth. Like, I fear that there are now supercharged echo chambers where there are a totally separate set of facts. Here's what Elon Musk. Here's a list of techies on the ground helping Musk gaining and using access to the U.S. Treasury payment system. Akash Baba, Edward Kirstein, Luke Ferrador, Gautier, Cole Killian, Gavin Klieger, Ethan Showatron. I feel like none of these are real names. That feels fake, but you have committed a crime. Not... Boom, lasered. This man. Not only is this incredibly scary and untrue, it's not a crime, but Elon and libs of TikTok have been exposing queer and trans federal employees for years, opening them up to all kinds of harassment and threats. This man is an out and proud fascist, so nothing should be surprising anymore, but still incredibly disturbing to see someone who holds so much unilateral power just censor and call any speech he doesn't like a crime. Trump's DC U.S. attorney says that any threats, confrontations, or other actions in any way that impacts what Elon Musk people are doing will be investigated by his office, since that may break numerous laws. Yeah. You're going to have Elon's goons pick apart the federal government, and if you even criticize them, you're going to jail. That's awesome. Right-wingers are complaining that Wired reported the names of Doge employees. I don't understand. Aren't these guys tasked with very serious jobs within the government? How is, like, that's not unmasking or doxing someone. That's insane. That's like saying you doxed JD Vance because you reported what his name actually is, which is John Don Jedediah Vance. These are public servants, man. What are we doing? Didn't these guys say that they wanted transparency? It's a group of Zoomers. Yeah, I know. I heard. I saw. One of them has a broccoli cut, dude. It's amazing. Yeah, he's been chirping about this nonstop. Muskrat's Doge henchmen have been identified. r/white people Twitter is now calling for the public execution of Doge software developers. Let's see what the... Wait, I want to see what the death threats are. It's time to do more than dragging names. Let's drag their necks up. Okay, they are saying death threats, to be fair. Yeah, I mean, they are. They are technically... You are not allowed to do that. That's crazy. Like, you don't Fed post. I tell you this all the time, okay?
He's an amazing guy, and Larry is Larry. Larry's one of the most serious players anywhere in the world, so it's an honor to have you. This has nothing to do with you people, but they hear it. I thought it would be appropriate. I'm sure you didn't recognize them. They're all going crazy. They say, what are they doing here?
Yeah, so the private information of every American is now in the hands of 6 guys not old enough to rent a car. Wired has identified 6 young men, all apparently between the ages of 19 and 24, according to public databases, their online presence, and other records, who have little to no government experience and are now playing critical roles in Musk's so-called Department of Government Efficiency, Doge project, tasked by the executive order with modernizing federal technology and software to maximize governmental efficiency and productivity. The engineers all hold nebulous job titles within Doge, and at least one appears to be working as a volunteer. The engineers are Akash Baba, Edward Korstein, Luke Ferrador, Gautier Cole Killian, Gavin Klieger, and Ethan Showatron, which, again, I maintain the position that these are not real names. What the f***? I've never encountered names like this before in my life. None have responded to the request for comment from Wired. Representatives from OPM, GSA, and Doge did not respond to requests for comment. Apparently, one of them is the 19-year-old might be Canadian, which makes it even funnier. It's not a crime at all, and it's not against TOS at all. He supported another account who named them. Wait, what? Luke being in charge of our money is an incredible shift. I didn't know this was an option. Amazing development. Wait, so this guy literally posted their faces and their names, and Elon let it slide because it's one of his riders. But yeah, these are the guys, okay? These are the guys who are going to cut your Social Security, baby. Get excited. Dudes who can't even rent a car. Oh, my Lord. Oh, my Lord. Holy moly. What an incredible moment in history. America, you are out of control. Okay, you just broke the law by uttering their names and showing their faces. U.S. drone on its way. Yeah, well, I am technically in a vassal state of the U.S. empire, so I am not safe here, but That's neither here nor there. Okay. Just wanted to point this as well. New archive tweets for Gavin Krieger, Musk's 20-something Doge employee, wreaking havoc inside of USAID, shows that Krieger has retweeted multiple neo-Nazis, including Nick Fuentes, leader of the so-called Groyper movement, and another popular explicit Nazi account recently unmasked by Travis Brown. So yeah, we are literally Groyperizing the American federal government. Gavin Krieger, Elon's Doge Hitler Youth shutting down USAID, is now indirectly responsible for the deaths of thousands of children. His Instagram appears to be G. Krieger. He's scrubbing his online footprint. It is wild that these guys are like openly groiped up too.
He's a very talented guy from the standpoint of management and costs. And we put him in charge of seeing what he can do with certain groups and certain numbers. Some of the numbers are horrible, what he's found. Think of it, $100 million on condoms to Hamas. Condoms to Hamas. And many other things that are frankly even more ridiculous. And they're finding tremendous waste, really waste. More than anything else, I think you could say. Probably fraud and abuse can be added to it, the more standard waste, fraud, and abuse. But they're finding tremendous amounts of really bad things, bad spending. You've been writing about some of it, frankly, and some of the things that they've been doing is just terrible. Elon can't do and won't do anything without our approval. And we'll give him the approval where appropriate. Where not appropriate, we won't. But he reports in, and it's something that he feels very strongly about, and I'm impressed because he's running, obviously, a big company. It has nothing to do, if there's a conflict, that we won't let him get near it. But he does have a good natural instinct. He's got a team of very talented people. We're trying to shrink government, and he can probably shrink.
Oh, yeah. No, if there's a conflict, we won't let him anywhere near it, dude. Totally. He's tasked with basically undermining every federal regulatory agency, and virtually all of them have at some point prosecuted Elon Musk for direct violations of the law. Every single regulatory agency that Elon has complete control over has, at a certain point in time or currently, tasked with regulating one of his companies. Okay? Every single one. It is insane to say that if there's a conflict of interest, we'll deal with it. Like, no, you won't. It is all a conflict of interest.
As well as anybody else, if not better. Where we think there's a conflict or there's a problem, we won't let him go near it. But he has some very good ideas, and we have a lot of very other talented people also. We're bringing in the most talented people.
Dude, putting Elon Musk in charge of the, in any capacity, in charge of the federal regulatory agencies, like putting a arsonist in charge of the fire department. Okay. And then claiming, well, he's got a lot of experience, Elon. He's dealt with these guys quite a bit. Greatest arsonist on the planet. Many fires started. You want a guy like that to combat the fires. He knows how to start them. He knows how to end them. Lots of experience from the standpoint of fire. Much experience. I can't believe the condom thing is still going on, by the way. Like the Hamas condom thing. It's just like this part of the process is so wild, where he talks about how Doge is going to tackle, ridiculous government expenditure. And then and talking about how like we've given $100 million worth of condoms to Hamas, which is crazy. There's another place, Gaza in Mozambique. Yeah. Okay. Those weren't even condoms. Okay. It was contraceptives being sent to Mozambique. It was not condoms being sent to anybody. It was contraceptives, like sexual reproductive health related medical supplies. It's so stupid. And how do you address that? It is just such an abject lie. How do you address that? How do you address something that is just completely made up when a decent number of people legitimately believe everything that this government says? It's understandable that we place a lot of confidence in official members of the government making declarations, making statements, right? Because for the longest time, people in the United States of America, or people all around the world, have had to trust their government. Okay? So when a member of the government says something, you just assume that it's probably real. Except with Donald Trump especially, it's never real. And it's increasingly surreal in the silliest ways possible, like this condom story. Having said that, however, this violation of trust and the abject lies, Google contraceptives, it's not just condoms, chatter. What are you talking about? It's not going to Palestine, and it's like all matter of different things. Okay? Oh my God. The problem here is not the issue of condoms also being a contraceptive. Okay? It's literally sexual reproductive health things like medical supplies that pertain to sexual reproductive health. It's not just condoms. Okay? IUDs and things of that nature. It is now true though. That's what I'm saying. And there's chatters in here being like, well, contraceptives are condoms. Yeah, I know. It's medicine, IUDs, it's menstrual health products. Condoms also play an important role in AIDS prevention. So obviously condoms are also a part of it. What is happening? I feel like I feel like, yeah, birth control pills, things of that nature. But it's like we are officially dumbing ourselves down. Okay. And we're just like, lol, condoms, that's for sex. And by the way, a major part of this problem, this lie, is that it's not actually going to Palestinians. That's the other side of this. And that's what they're claiming. They're claiming it's Hamas condoms. $100 million of condoms have been sent to Hamas. That's just a lie. Don't try to actually this. You're trying to actually this by bringing up a whole new sentence to the equation that they're not saying. Crazy that now the U.S. State Department is determining birth control isn't a form of U.S. aid when it spent decades in Puerto Rico using birth control, specifically IUDs, as a form of sterilizing one out of every 3 women. As an ex-missionary, it blows my mind because Christian missionaries buy a ton of condoms, birth control, menstrual-related products to countries they're serving. Those are the same people outraged at this? Yeah. It's so ridiculous. Turns out the United States did spend $50 million in STD prevention to Gaza, $83 million to be exact. It just so happens that the province of Gaza in Mozambique, the country located in the southeastern coast of Africa, Hamas and Gaza, Palestine, did not receive $50 million worth of U.S. condoms from that grant, like President Trump suggested earlier today. They got $83 million worth of contraceptives and sexual health-related products, which is an understandable form of medical aid that is a necessity in places like Mozambique, especially. I wonder why. Yeah, it's mainly for HIV prevention. I know. Anyway, let's get to the U.S. aid part of this process.
That all the people are...
Now, U.S. aid, like this is yet another instance where, like, again, Trump is doing something, okay, that I feel is not necessary. Like, I feel like it's something that under different circumstances I might not have even had an issue with. But of course, the way he's doing it and why he's doing it is entirely separate. This is why I call him JD Pondon. U.S. aid in and of itself is obviously, openly, not even like a secret, a very important aspect of the American State Department, okay? They do international development, okay? Now, it is oftentimes masked as humanitarian aid, but there's plenty of aid that it actually offers the CIA, for example, okay? Opening up or helping develop the infrastructure for civil society organizations and whatnot that actually create an easier ground of destabilization and even potentially, further intervention later down the line. Having said that, however, there is a lot of good that this organization does in the process as well. It's an important aspect of American soft power.
It was an independent agency started by President John F. Kennedy at the height of the Cold War.
The conquest of poverty.
A way of countering Soviet influence by providing billions of dollars in U.S. humanitarian, development, and economic aid.
It's its own agency, not under the State Department? Yeah. Come on, chatter. First of all, every agency that touches American foreign policy is still controlled by the American State Department. Why do you think Anthony Blinken gets U.S. aid memos as the Secretary of State and then lies about the memos that he got about the genocide that is ongoing in Gaza from the U.S. aid department?
Around the world to those most in need. At least it did, until Donald Trump decided he didn't like those running it.
It's been run by a bunch of radical lunatics, and we're getting them out. USAID, run by radical lunatics, and we're getting them out, and then we'll make a decision.
But by this morning, the decision had been made and the agency shut down, seemingly by Trump's self-appointed efficiency czar, Elon Musk, who said on X with no evidence, USAID is a criminal organization. Time for it to die. And that followed a confrontation over the weekend where two of the agency's top security officials were removed from the building after refusing to give Musk's staff access to restricted areas.
What we have here is not an apple with a worm in it.
I truly don't understand how or why the Trump administration is doing a bunch of this stuff that dismantles American foreign policy, because it doesn't make sense. Okay. This is akin to saying we are going to dismantle NATO. Okay. That's it. NATO is a demonstration of American soft power and hard power. NATO is profoundly beneficial to our military industrial complex. I see that as a bad thing. Okay. USAID, in a similar vein, plays a formative role in American soft power globally. Okay. Sometimes that's good. Sometimes it actually does a bunch of good, right? In places that are underserved. But ultimately, the reason why this department exists is not because America's woke and wants to help combat HIV in Africa, for example. Okay. Or they want to genuinely improve the literacy rates globally. They don't want that. They don't care. They don't care about that at all. They want to have influence on the ground with real citizens, with actual nationals of that foreign state. It works at the behest of American foreign policy, just like NATO does, and it also works at genuinely destabilizing a lot of our foreign adversaries. So while it does good, there's also a lot of bad that it does, but regardless of the good and the bad, it's still ultimately working at the behest of American empire. So I don't understand why Donald Trump would work to undermine that, especially as someone who's like, America's number one. We gotta reassert our dominance around the globe. Why the would you take a tool out of the tool belt and throw it in the trash in that process? A cool thing USA did. Oh, excuse me. They were improving literacy rates in Taliban-controlled areas of Afghanistan. Hello. I'm sorry. I didn't realize you didn't want people to learn math and in madrasas, specifically with textbooks that blatantly promoted jihad, militancy, and violence through graphic language and imagery. The textbook including clear messages aimed at evoking hostility towards Russian invaders and promoting violent retribution against occupiers of Afghanistan. Textbooks designed to teach children to read in basic mathematics, simultaneously emphasizing weaponry, killings, jihad, and Islamism. It teaches math. It's comical. You know how like Israelis will say like Palestinians learn to hate Jews from birth at these schools, and then like they'll say like they're depicting Israelis as enemy combatants when they're teaching math. Like this is literally that. Okay. No, it's jihad math. I'm not even joking. Yes. And it was created in the United States of America. Okay. Learning the alphabet. These children are taught Jim is for jihad. Jihad is an obligation. My uncle went to jihad. Our brothers gave water to the mujahideen. Textbooks designed to teach math and language are filled with depictions of Kalashnikov rifles, grenades, and military ammunition. However, the great irony is that these textbooks were produced, funded, and distributed by the U.S. government using taxpayer dollars. The Taliban regime, which President Bush deplored as an enemy which aids terrorists and barbaric criminals who profane a great religion by committing murder in its name, is using and reprinting American-funded materials to propagate its radical ideology among the Afghan youth. Why would the United States fund textbooks that promote a dangerous message antithetical to American values? By the way, apparently some of these books are still very much circulated in Afghanistan to this day. USAID-sponsored school textbooks taught Afghan children to count 1 machine gun, 2 knives, 3 pistols to fight against the Russian infidel. All right, let's continue.
But we have actually just a bowl of worms. And USAID is a bowl of worms. Mm-hmm. There is no apple. And when there is no apple, you've just got to basically get rid of the whole thing.
US aid represents less than 1% of the federal budget, and yet President Trump, advised by Elon Musk, has decided it's been taken over by radical liberals who are spending billions of dollars worth of taxpayer money on projects that don't tally with Trump's America First agenda.
Like, that's what I see. This is what doesn't make sense. USAID is America First agenda. USA First is USAID is America First to its core. Like, what is happening? What is going on? This action, unironically, is against the expansion of American empire. Do they simply look at this and go, we should privatize this as well? Like, I don't understand it. I genuinely don't get it. Unless these guys are like undercover Maoists and they just want to dismantle the American empire piece by piece, it doesn't make any sense why they're doing this. I truly don't get it. Like, were the MAGA communists right? Is this a thing? Like, am I so delusional that I just could not comprehend it? Is JD Pon not a meme? Is JD Pon not a meme, but instead the reality in front of my eyes? What the hell is going on? Or are they so stupid that they think like the US aid actually does what it claims it does, which is aid foreign nations that are underserved, and they just racistly hate that, and they don't realize the true purpose of it, so they're just trying to pick it apart for scraps. Like, they think we're doing DEI in these countries. We're like forcing DEI in these countries, which is ironic because I thought DEI initiatives were a bad thing. So wouldn't you be undermining those countries by doing DEI if you hate these countries? Isn't that a good thing? None of it makes sense.
So they're shutting it down and reorganizing, and other spending in departments could go the same way.
Hank the Tank, you think China, CIA first, wrong? Nothing can stop what's coming. You think China needs help from the US? What do you mean China needs help? I don't think China needs help from the US. I think the US is helping China without realizing. I think Donald Trump is... I don't necessarily think this is a bad thing, by the way, but I do think that the United States is actually developing multipolarity right now. Like every step of the way. It's so funny because liberals used to post like Maoist Trump as an own. We do that as a positive here in this community, right? And what conservatives like Hank the Tank don't understand is that like what Donald Trump is doing is actually undermining your I guess like your worldview. But like I've said, Sun Tzu, never interrupt your opponent when he's in the process of making a mistake. I'm just gonna let it happen.
Arbitrarily axed as part of the White House.
Makes as much sense as a Luka Doncic trade. Yeah. No, everything is Luka.
House push to remake the federal government. Contract workers who turned up at the agency today were visibly shaken by Musk's seemingly unfettered power.
I think everyone's shocked. I think everyone knew that there would be a clash of ideals and that there would be a clash of systems and values, but no one expected this. What is happening now through people like Elon Musk, there is no mandate for that. There is no mandate, and I think it's incredibly jarring to watch.
This is all scary. I also don't think that Trump has control over the White House anymore. It's now Elon Musk, and we've seen that in the way that he's just blatantly taken over.
By the way, yeah, for everybody that was like constantly talking about Russiagate, turns out it wasn't Russiagate, it was Chinagate all along. Like, my man went to the Forbidden Palace and it changed his life, dude. It changed the way he sees the world. Like, the grand plan was always for the Chinese century of prosperity.
US aid is continuing to run emergency food programs in places like Gaza, while Musk's team carries out massive cuts, and the rump will likely be...
Why is everyone shocked that this is happening? We've all been saying this would happen if Trump won. No, because it doesn't... The reason why I'm personally shocked about these kinds of initiatives is because I get the concentration camp stuff, right? Even though it's a self-own, even though it harms the American economy, even though it will lead to an inevitable increase in prices like hyperinflation. But as far as like Trump doing this actually undermines America and America's influence around the globe. If you want to keep being the dominant country on the planet, these are some of the things that you need to maintain. So for him to actually go against this is like, it's like if Donald Trump turned around and was like, yeah, we're actually dismantling the profit, the for-profit interests of the healthcare industry piece by piece.
Trump insisted today that Musk wouldn't make any decisions without his approval.
But he does have a good natural instinct. He's got a team of very talented people. We're trying to shrink government, and he can probably shrink it as well as anybody else, if not better.
Never mind that US aid was established by an act of Congress, and only Congress, in theory, can dismantle it.
And is this potential trade war?
The other thing is, like, I don't think that, like, American interference is going away. Okay? That's the other side of the story. I just don't think, like, they might shut down US aid, but something similar to it will always exist. Maybe it's a method change, right? One of the things that is a little bit different with the way Republicans do things, with the way the Republicans operate, is that they're very blunt. Okay? Yeah, this chatter is correct. It may be all stick, no carrot. You know what I mean? No more dangling carrot, no more covert influence operations, no more psyops, just straight, what you see is what you get. We're taking it, and there's not a thing you can do about it. That could potentially be the difference here. It's less covert influence and more overt influence. I assume that will be the modus operandi of this government. Perhaps privatization of this government agency. You know, offering these to contractors and outsourcing it to private enterprise to engage in these sorts of covert operations. Perhaps it'll be centralized directly under the State Department, under the CIA. I don't know. But I just don't think, that the goals of this agency, bro, you're stuck on this just like on the Russia invasion. Just because it doesn't make sense doesn't mean it isn't true. Thiel and Yarvin are steering the ship and they want oligarch city-states. Wait, what? I don't disagree with neo-feudalism that's happening in front of our eyes. What are you talking about? There is no disagreement there. I'm just saying that on its face, this development, the undermining of U.S. aid, which still benefits American empire, the ultimate goals of this agency have not changed. Donald Trump is not like a world unifier, okay? He is not trying to de-escalate American interference in foreign nations. If that was the case, he would be handling Israel a lot differently. He'd be handling Ukraine a lot differently. So far, he hasn't, right? There's some shifts that have taken place, and we'll see what kind of results it'll yield. But having said that, he's not going to decide all of a sudden that America is only interested in developing the United States of America and no longer interested in like maintaining its global hegemonic superpower. U.S. aid is not just interference. It is the largest funder of all humanitarian aid in the world. I am 500 of my colleagues just got furloughed from there. No, I know. I'm saying that there is also good there as well. So I suspect that maybe they'll take away like any number of different aid initiatives that USAID actually engaged in, and will simply only do the bad interference. There's a statement from the State Department 4 hours ago, from Trump's State Department. The United States Agency for International Development USAID has long strayed from its original mission of responsibly advancing American interests abroad, and it is now abundantly clear that significant portions of USAID funding are not aligned with the core national interests of the United States. As an interim step towards gaining control and better understanding over the agency's activity, President Donald J. Trump appointed Secretary Marco Rubio as acting administrator. See, that's what I mean. First of all, you think Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who is like the #1 China hawk and Mr. CIA, is going to turn around and all of a sudden be like, we're pulling a JFK. We're picking apart U.S. aid piece by piece. Do you see what I'm saying? Secretary Rubio was confirmed by the entirety of the Senate, by the way. 99 votes in favor of his confirmation. Secretary Rubio has now also notified Congress that a review of USAID's foreign assistance activities is underway with an eye towards potential reorganization. As we evaluate USAID and ensure its alignment with an America First agenda, and the efforts of the State Department, we will continue to protect the American people's interests and ensure tax dollars are not wasted. No, Bernie wasn't even the holdout. He voted for it too. I forget who was like the person who abstained. The way I see this is, the way I foresee this is, they take out all the soft power stuff and just keep hard power all the way, and become an increasingly more militant version of itself, not realizing that soft power plays a role in military might. Something that I've repeated over and over again is that without soft power, without America maintaining its prominent position as like the top diplomat, okay, without being the global leader of any kind of intervention and any kind of initiatives, 800 military bases all of a sudden can very quickly, almost overnight, turn into 800 different military invasions, okay? Security cooperative agreements can turn into direct boots on the ground military warfare. And that can happen very quickly. The only thing that aesthetically keeps that as a security cooperative agreement and not like direct military invasion and direct military occupation is the attitude that these countries have towards the United States of America. Do you get it? Do you understand? It's something that I've mentioned quite a bit in this past year because of Israel, because of America's hardline approach to Israel, which the Biden administration certainly accelerated.
Elon Musk's task force has been pushing to gain access to sensitive government information targeting a federal agency. Chief Washington correspondent John Carl has that story. Good morning, John.
Good morning, George. Elon Musk and his Department of Government Efficiency have promised to take a wrecking ball to the federal government, vowing to cut trillions of dollars in spending and to dramatically reduce the number of government employees. Now we have learned that his team has gained access to something extraordinarily sensitive, the system that the Treasury Department uses to disperse almost every check and expenditure of any kind made by the U.S. government. Sources tell ABC News that Elon Musk's team now has access to the Treasury Department's payment system, essentially the government's checkbook, which processes trillions of dollars in payments and includes personal information for hundreds of millions of Americans. The access was granted over the weekend over the objection of at least one senior Treasury Department official who has been put on leave. Neither the White House nor Treasury Department has responded.
Did Elon Musk find these guys on Twitter, by the way? Hype train, baby. We got a hype train going. Let's go. We've entered the cool zone. We've been in the cool zone. We've been firmly inside of the cool zone. The zone where historians talk about what went wrong. They're all Theo Blood Boys and SpaceX interns. Nice. Very cool that a bunch of groiped up shouties are now tasked with undermining federal agencies. It's craziness.
To our request for comment. But after midnight last night, billionaire Elon Musk talked about his efforts to shake up the government on his social media platform, X.
There's already been really tremendous progress. We've, rough estimate is that there's at least a few $1 billion a day of savings.
One of Musk's top targets, USAID, the federal government's foreign aid agency.
As we dug into USAID, it became apparent that what we have here is not an apple with a worm in it, but we have actually just a bowl of worms.
On Friday night, a DOJ team showed up at the USAID offices in Washington and demanded access, sources familiar with the incident tell ABC News. After a standoff, security guards ultimately led them in. Now, more than 100 USAID staffers have been placed on leave. Many more have been locked out of internal systems, and the organization's Trump-appointed chief of staff has resigned. USAID's $43 billion budget is a tiny fraction of federal spending, about 1%. But its support is a critical lifeline for people in need around the world. Combating malaria, for example, an effort estimated to have saved nearly 12 million lives.
Like that right there is a good example. Like not everything the USA does is, not everything the USA does is bad. Okay. That's a great example of this. Spreading American goodwill is done for a nefarious purpose, but it's still actually helping people. Does that make sense? Do you understand what I'm saying? And I suspect that they're just going to only spread American ill will and cut out the good stuff. No more covert operations, no more influence peddling, just straight, You do this or you die. America no longer the good guy? No, America was never the good guy. But it's more so America no longer even maintaining the aesthetic presence of being the good guy who sometimes does bad at the behest of good, okay? Should China pick up the goodwill? China already has been doing that. Remember, in the Philippines, China sent a ton of Sinovac to the Philippines, okay? During the peak of COVID. And what did the American government do? The American CIA and the American State Department basically said, China's actually doing soft power stuff. We don't like it. Instead of actually sending, I don't know, our own COVID pharmaceuticals to the Philippines, we decided to task the agency with undermining the Filipino confidence in vaccines in general. Is there an article on it? Yes, there's a Reuters article that someone in the chat immediately linked. When I mention stuff, chatters, usually my editors will slap it on to the video on YouTube. But when I'm mentioning something off Top Dome, like I'm mentioning things that I've read and investigated on this broadcast, contrary to what my haters claim, if their own ineptitude causes them to not be able to figure out these things that I'm talking about, instead of, they should probably seek a little bit deeper and try to figure out where this information is coming from, instead of simply saying Hassan just lies and he's wrong all the time. Okay? That's what's so frustrating about this process, because it's much easier to just be like, Hassan is just lying and he's wrong. I couldn't find it. I couldn't find this article. They will just call your fact-dropping lies and refuse to look it up themselves. I know. And then so many people are just misguided. I'm Filipino. You all? Wait, what?
Partnership with the U.S. military, USAID officials have often been first to arrive with disaster relief, providing food, water, shelter, and health care to allies and partners.
And this just in, USAID employees are waking up this morning to an email notice telling them not to show up to work today, as Musk says he is shutting the agency down. All of this, George, is happening over the loud objections of Democratic leaders in Congress who say that Elon Musk simply does not have the authority to do what he is now doing.
Well, that's going to be tested right now, but it is something remarkable when the biggest contributor to Donald Trump's campaign is now taking those actions inside the government. At the same time, tremendous unrest inside the FBI as prosecutors and agents who worked on the January 6th investigation are being targeted.
George, it looks like a wholesale purge of the FBI. As you know, already the 8 top officials at the Federal Bureau of Investigation have either been fired or forced to resign. Now they are being asked to, the FBI is being asked to produce a list of every employee who worked on any case related to January 6th. I am told this is some 6,000 FBI employees all told. All this has prompted an extraordinary email that went out over the weekend from the top FBI official in the New York field office saying, today we find ourselves in the middle of a battle of our own as good people are being walked out of the FBI and others are being targeted because they did their jobs in accordance with law and the FBI policy. That is somebody who has not yet been, who's still on the job, at least for now.
Boy, that is really something. You know, we really don't know how this story is going to end, but in this first 2 weeks of the Trump administration, we've never seen this kind of scope of executive action, which is going to be tested in the courts and in Congress.
And it continues to be.
This is a constitutional.
Oh my God. The 5, Musk says U.S. aid is a criminal organization.
Crisis that we are in today.
Just like Elon Musk did not create U.S. aid, he doesn't have the power to destroy it. And who's going to stop him?
Are you? I have no confidence in these guys getting their shit together.
We are.
This is what the beginning of dictatorship looks like.
Angry Democrats throwing a hissy fit after Elon Musk dropped the Doge hammer on the Hunter Biden of government agencies. It's called USAID.
The Hunter Biden of government agencies. Hassan is a fake liberal, fake lib. Hassan is a criminal. I mean, I'm not a liberal, so I guess you're not wrong.
And earlier, staffers got locked out of their headquarters in Washington as it gets rolled over into the State Department. The agency is supposed to oversee humanitarian development and security programs in some 120 countries and is in charge of over $70 billion of your taxpayer money. But the Trump administration argues it has become a clown car of corruption. And Musk sums it up this way, quote, USAID is a criminal organization. Time for it to die. So Musk had a busy weekend too, Greg.
Yeah, this is pretty incredible. You can always judge the deception of something by the name and what the name tries to mislead you into believing. U.S. aid is not about aid any more than the Marx Brothers wrote the Communist Manifesto. It's just the name, but it tricks you. And if you're lazy like me, you just assume, oh, it's all about aid. The beauty of this new administration is that it forces you to learn about stuff that you didn't really want to. Like, I didn't know what a de minimis loophole was. It sounds like a cross stitch or something, but it's like a huge deal. It's a massive deal for small businesses because...
What's good, GOAT? Marchy Poo's here. Marchy Poo's here. We're gonna move on to a more fun portion in a second.
China ships 1.4 billion packages, you know, through this loophole that are made under sweatshops for very low money. That stops. U.S. aid, if you read about it,
The Meiji government outlawed carrying the blade.
Basically seems to me like it's a front group that gives money to groups to do things that our government can't do directly.
Right.
So it sounds a lot like NGOs and illegal immigration. All that money was going there. And if you look at what they're connected to, you find out that USAID also doubles back into our country, whether it's Soros-funded prosecutors. Of course, the worst thing, EcoHealth Alliance, which was behind the COVID virus, and perhaps the pro-Hamas protesters who we're still trying to figure out the money. So I like to look at who's complaining and then work.
USAID is supporting Hamas and also Hamas protesters.
You might see a thread between the loudest voices and the beast behind it. I'm already looking at the Harold Ford Handsome Modeling School because I don't think that's real. So when people were screaming this was a threat to democracy, it really was a threat to bureaucracy. And the fear that it's instilled by just saying, open your books, that tells you everything.
Bro, your ass shaking is going to wake up Godzilla from his deep slumber under the depths under the Philippine Sea. Please reconsider. Nah, we're bringing it back.
If you're terrified by showing us how you spend your money, then we know you're a crook.
Handsome Harold.
What is this? This is
over the past several years, these are some of the insane priorities that organization has been spending money on. $1.5 million to advance DEI in Serbia's workplaces, $70,000 for a production of a DEI musical in Ireland, $47,000 for a transgender opera in Colombia, $32,000 for a transgender comic book in Peru. I don't know about you, but as an American taxpayer, I don't want my dollars going towards this crap, and I know the American people don't either, and that's exactly what Elon Musk...
I don't get it. Isn't it good to, like, make these countries trans? Like, I don't understand. Like, if DEI is bad, isn't it good that we're undermining all of these other countries by making them more queer? Like, what's happening here? We don't want to fight. I was joking when I said USA does DEI globally, but it turns out that it's literally what they're saying.
Has been tasked by President Trump to do, to get the fraud, waste, and abuse out of our federal government. Thank you, guys.
I hate this. It's such an old-ass meme, dude. Marco Rubio's authorized Peter Morocco to perform the duties of the Deputy Administrator of USAID and begin the process of engaging in a review of potential reorganization of USAID activities. Per letter to Congress, Trump ally Morocco was allegedly present at January 6th. The qualifications for working in this administration are just like, be someone who is very drunk and just like be a routine assaulter. That all right, we got to move soon.
So the conflating, I agree with Greg in a big part, but you conflating what Elon Musk did over the weekend when he wanted access to the Treasury Department materials and asking for USAID to shut down are two different things. He's not a government employee, and for him to ask for those payments and to understand how that payment process system works, I think was just wrong. I think he won't win a personality contest, but he will certainly win a smarts contest and intellectual contest. I think slimming down government and continuing to make it effective or allowing it to be made effective, he personifies that. He has saved us money with his efforts to get us to space and explore. We're spending less with him and doing more. That should be the model. Just firing people and asking for materials. President Trump, I know he wants Elon to be a big part of this, but Elon Musk, who derived...
Where's Jessica Tarlov when you need her, dude? Why is the supposed quote-unquote liberal on this? Why is the supposed liberal on the panel also glazing Elon and Trump? Fox News, you must fix this error immediately. We want Jessica Tarkov. We want Escape from Tarkov with Jessica Tarkov, and we want her now.
Most of his income today from government contracts, which is nothing is wrong with that. He shouldn't have access as a non-government employee to these things. If this were a Democrat and they put Jeffrey Katzenberg, or they decided to put another Democrat in charge of helping to slim down the cost of government, and they did it this way, I would be critical of them, saying you can't do it this way if you want to ensure that that it's going to have credibility. On USAID, I'm not here to defend all of it, but I do know this. There have been 20 global health outbreaks over the last many years that they have partnered with partners to try to ensure they didn't get to American soil.
How much did they cause?
Malaria and polio on the continent of Africa and other places that are hard to reach, they have been integral in helping to do that. Now, I don't disagree with the things that they probably should not be doing, but we should not throw the baby out with the bathwater. And this is an organization that has existed for a long time. Yep. If you can slim it down and make it effective, let's do it. But I think Mr. Musk and President Trump ought to take a step back here and not be so, what some may say is being a little vindictive towards some of these organizations.
You know what? Here's the problem. U.S. taxpayer monies should go for U.S. national interests, okay? To the extent that there are U.S. national interests supported by this USA organization that in 2023 spent $43 billion on global humanitarian operations. If we spent some of that money on our senior citizens, on our veterans, on people in the hurricane areas, the problem with this is that this clearly, I don't care how long this agency has existed, we need information. We need transparency, and a 90-day pause should not be a problem for the Democrats who are always supporting transparency. No agency should be free of being monitored, and these special interests end up taking over when no one is monitoring. And then when they think that no one is looking, it inevitably leads to corruption. I mean, that's how you see in something that was started out positively turns out to end up being a criminal organization. When no one's looking, that's a problem.
But there's no evidence, Judge, that this is a criminal organization.
Let me finish. This country, this group, has given money mostly to, like an NGO, to Ukraine, Ethiopia, Jordan, Somalia, Syria. What is all this about? And part of this stuff is drag shows in Ecuador, atheism in Nepal, trans comic books in Peru. So, let's keep tallying that up. That doesn't do anything for my country.
Well, we're funding atheism
in Nepal.
In Nepal, that's an interesting one.
Yeah.
So we've been talking a little bit about how Democrats are finding ways to funnel money to their causes. Okay, and this might be another place for that. So I'm okay with a pause. I do think that there are some great things that actually do help a president with national security issues for health diplomacy, for example. I think it's smart. Sports diplomacy can also be very smart. And we're really the only country in the world that people want to be like anyway. So I get that. I think putting Rubio in charge of it is a smart decision. But if you think about what the Biden administration was bragging about before they left, they were trying to get as much money out the door as possible. And they were sending it to lots of different things, green energy subsidy type things, but also, trans issues in Honduras. That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't get to you what Harold was talking about, which were meritorious. Polio, malaria, things like that make a lot of sense. Some of these other things get people upset, and I can understand why. I don't think Sesame Street in Iraq's probably a good use of taxpayer dollars. Like, I get that. So again, I think a pause is appropriate, but that Rubio will be somebody smart to be able to handle decisions. My last point on this is, it's not like these guys were coming up with this on their own. Look to Congress. And several of these things that we've talked about before, every block of this show, Congress is derelict in its duty. Or they're shoving things into these big omnibus bills, for example, Sesame Street in Iraq. People don't come up with this out of thin air. Congress has a responsibility here, and they've basically been absent.
But guys, just one question. The president has every right to do that, but he can't pause a law that Congress spends the money. If he wants to do this, he should zero out their budgets next year.
All right, we're moving on, chat. We're moving into the IRL portion while this plays. I'll be back in a second on the other side.
Have the
See you
power to go
soon.
to Congress and pass laws and undo it.